and I'm going to go live.
There you are, F5 Pittsburgh. This is the agility stream test. Oh, wait, how come I don't know? That's a previous one. Okay, now it says live on YouTube. View stream on YouTube. There we go. Okay, now it says live on YouTube. I see. So if you switch over to gallery view, there we go. It says live on YouTube. View stream on YouTube. So if you switch, I think if you as the host, if you put it into gallery view, then it tiles it out in YouTube. I don't know if there's much other control you have, but
say that again.
Like so, right now your meeting is in speaker view. You know what I mean? Like you can, you know, how you could put the meeting into gallery view versus speaker view, or you can pin videos and.
Yep.
Click on gallery view, and then I think the YouTube stream will.
Okay, so let me exit full screen. Gallery view. Oh man. Really? There we go. Zoom view. All right, now let's see what's up. Come on. Right,
I'm not sure if that changes the test.
There we go. Now you want to change to gallery view. So I thought I was in gallery view. I guess I'm not. Where do I make that change, bro?
I'm not sure where it is on yours, but in the top right-hand corner in the Zoom window, I have a gallery view and a speaker view button.
Why don't I have it? Right now, my Zoom window's not responding.
I think Jermaine was talking there, but I can't hear him.
No,
Jermaine's there, but I can barely hear him.
Oh, he's there?
Yeah.
Right
your
on.
video also cut off, Maurice. I guess your computer's ready to go down in flames. I'm gonna put my assistant shirt on here.
Yeah, you may have to. This is not good, bro. I'm gonna go change my shirt real quick too.
You might want to reboot that computer or something.
What shirt are we supposed to wear?
Oh, I can just barely hear Jermaine. It's like you're super quiet there.
What's he saying?
Can't hear him. Well, I mean, I can hear that he's trying to say something, but.
How about now? Is that better?
Yeah, so I'm about to crater.
Yeah, I think so.
This is not good. Not a good look.
Maybe you should pour some water on the laptop.
Yeah, this is not a good look. This is the wrong time.
Is my audio still low?
Oh man.
Oh, that sounds good.
Okay.
This is not good, bro. Really.
So, what shirt color are we supposed to wear? Blue or
this is
gray?
really not good. So, can you're a co-host? You can stay in there. I'm going to bounce this thing and join back in.
Sure. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Say that.
I think you
cleared up.
Can you hear me?
I think you're. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I lost the volume here. What did I do?
So I think you're.
So now, in my upper right corner, bro, all it says is exit full screen. I don't have a gallery option.
I think you might have to do a last minute emergency reboot there. You got to do an emergency landing, Maurice.
Yeah.
Bring it down.
I'm doing it. I see Jermaine now. I see you out there, Jermaine. Just hang tight, bro. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Now. Oh, are you not signed in? Oh, you're set. You're a host now. Okay.
Who's those? Oh, I am. I just noticed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And okay, so do you see the YouTube stream?
I see it showing up, and I was able to see it also when I clicked View YouTube Stream. And what I tried.
And do you see the YouTube stream?
Yeah, I see it showing up, And I was able to see it also when I clicked YouTube stream.
Hey, Garland.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Oh, is it the blue shirt?
Wait a minute. How does that work? You have I can't tell if that shirt's blue or gray or what's going on there with that.
Oh, it's great. I don't have I don't know, this camera and this lighting situation has really been irritating me the last few weeks. So the shirt's gray, but it looks weird on camera. I don't know what that's about.
That's okay. It looks good actually. It's like I want one of those shirts.
But the virtual background's all weird.
It looks good actually.
So
Is your background a light blue background, Jermaine, or is it just my?
You know what? It is. It may be the wrong background. Are we light blue?
I think yeah. I think
No, I'll switch it. This is the fastest way to do that. Maybe. All right.
I'll be back just a second.
all right. It's just us.
Yep. Play some. It's two of us.
I wonder if you want to change your thing here. Here, I'm gonna share out my screen. Do share screen number 1 and virtual background profile. Edit my profile. So log into Zoom, SSO, F5 networks.
Yeah.
And this is kind of optional. I don't know if you want to do it or not, but I put an F5 tag in here.
Okay.
Just so it's easy to, if you glance at the list of participants, you can see who's an F5er and who's not.
Okay. I like it.
So that's on profile, and if you just click edit, it's just like I just added on to my last name. Or
Wait a minute. 9%. Does that change? There we go. Keep it coming. All right, now I'm like confused. What screen am I looking at?
the Zoom or the YouTube stream, it's not too bad. A little compressed looking, but it's okay.
Yeah, I have to make sure I mute that. It's weird.
Yeah, there was get some feedback going on.
I'll be on the internet.
You're still a bit quiet.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why that is. I'm gonna play around with this microphone setting. I was kind of hoping to get the microphone sooner than later.
Oh, you don't have the Yeti yet?
No, which is interesting because I look at CDWG and it appears as though they have them. Like, why haven't they shipped?
Huh.
I may have to ask somebody what's going on.
That sounds better though. It sounds like you turned it up a bit.
Yes.
Do you have automatically adjust volume? settings on, or is it fixed in Zoom?
You know, it may be automatic.
You should probably set that to fixed.
Where are we looking at for that?
Let's see, desktop one. So if you click on your Zoom settings, if you click on audio, by default, this checkbox is selected. You want to make sure that's off and then have your volume pretty close to the top.
Okay.
And then also turn off intermittent background noise. That'll clean up your audio a little bit. I mean, that's good to have on when you're like in a Starbucks and places like that. But now say testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, which one did you say that was?
So you want
I got the adjust volume unchecked.
Yeah, and then if you click advanced.
Where am I missing the advanced tab? Oh, I don't have that tab here.
You might have to scroll here. Sometimes it gets hidden. Or I wonder if you have an old version of Zoom.
Let me see. Let me do it from here. Maybe under. Can I do it in the profiles?
It's definitely under audio. You're on Linux or
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It may not be, and it's a recent version of Zoom on Linux.
What version am I running? Oh man,
Should be version 5 something.
Right, that has to go.
Well, that's the version on Windows and Mac.
It's just more settings. Oh, that took me somewhere else. I have to chase that down.
All right. I mean, you sound fine now. I hear a little bit of fan action happening, but it's tolerable.
Okay.
Hey, Orlando.
How you doing, folks?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Good. Get this out of the way, that chair, disappearing chair. You guys look sharp, man, in those backgrounds. Where do you get those shirts? Is that the agility shirts?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right. It's been like meetings after meetings today.
Yeah. I gotta pull back on that. I can't take this back to back to back meetings. It's killing me. So the star of the show should have his computer rebooted pretty soon. And by star of the show, I mean Maurice.
Okay.
So Orlando, you're gonna help us go through the labs today and be our student guinea pig.
Well, I guess so. I could do that. Let me see. Have another call. I could do it for a little because I have a call in 2 hours. So,
Okay.
if you guys want to send me an
Yeah, no,
invite? You want to? Yeah.
I don't even think it'll take us the whole 2 hours.
Okay. Here, let me send it to my personal email. That's what I had the test account on for the UDF for external user. Here it goes. I just put it in there.
Is the UDF class all spun up?
Yes. Should be able to get them added there.
Yeah.
Jermaine, are you gonna add him?
I was trying to. Actually, do you mind doing it? Just trying to get some screens set up for this.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hey guys, this is Chris. You guys can add me as well as a tester. I think I went through this the last time we did a dry run, but I'm definitely willing to do it again.
Chris, I got you added also.
Okay, cool.
Jacob's here.
I don't see the DO class. Oh, there it is. ANO Toolchain. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Olivier. So Paul Simmons, Kevin, Olivier, and myself are the assistants. Have you guys jumped onto the UDF course?
You guys got your shirts. I didn't get mine yet.
You sent an email in to request a size and everything and submitted your...
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago.
I
Okay.
just got mine on like last Friday, so, and I was one of the last people to sign up for it, so should be getting them soon, I would think.
So Maurice just texted saying he's going to join in a second. And where's our back channel chat group here? I thought we had that created.
We do. It's DO. I don't know if you're in it, but thought you were.
Oh, Maurice is back now. There it is. DO. I'm going to pin that. All right. So are we ready to kick it off?
I think we're missing one. You guys are aware of this, but I'm having some serious technical difficulties at the moment.
Sorry, we don't have Majid yet. Because if he doesn't join in a few minutes, I can stumble through his part of the presentation. But I know his other lab was ending right at 2, so he may need a few minutes.
I think my son assembled this. I bought it a while ago. I don't know if anybody was watching the launch yesterday, but it's hilarious. They aborted the launch yesterday, but it's going to go on Saturday. Looks like Maurice is having some compute power.
Seriously, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm on here.
I can hear you, but it's very broken.
Yeah, robotic.
Good thing is Maurice has a new computer sitting in a box for him. Why don't we just why don't we go ahead and get started and assume our MC handed it over to Jermaine.
Are we going to start with? Actually, we're missing Majid still.
That's fine. If he doesn't join by the time, you can just hand it off to me. I'll stumble through his part. Oh, no, it looks like he just joined, so.
Sorry about that.
It's all good, man. And we lost Maurice again. So.
I'm here. I'm in trouble here, man.
Oh.
I'm having some problems here, boys. I don't know what to tell you. I'm really sorry about that.
No worries. We got the meeting all set up and running and ready to go. I think we can probably just assume you've done the orientation and we can go ahead and get started. And we got everybody ready.
So as lab assistants, should we have our videos on or off during the?
Yep. All F5ers will have video on. I mean, if you don't want it on now, that's fine. But for the actual event, everybody's going to have the backgrounds and shirts and everything like that ready to go.
Should we turn the participants' video off?
Some people will want to have their video on, which I think is fine.
Okay. All right, cool.
So you guys have seen me walk through these slides before. I'm going to struggle to do it right now. So I'm just going to jump to the last slide and try and hand it off, if that's all right. Which is basically just the intro, and then I'm going to turn it over. Majid is on now, right?
Yep.
I'm even struggling to get my slides to work. So I'm going to hand it over to you guys. I'm going to step out of the way. I'm sorry.
Majid, you want to just go ahead and kick off the presentation?
Yeah, just one moment. Let me. Sorry, I was in a meeting right before this. So hello, everyone. As you can see on your screens, there should be a poll question. Just trying to get an idea of who we have in the audience. And I will go ahead and share my screen for you guys. Can everyone see the PowerPoint okay?
Wait, you want it like the other way, no?
I might be sharing the wrong screen. There we go.
Yep, perfect.
Thank you, Eliezer. So like I said, my name is Majid Zarkesh, and hopefully all of you are here for the Agility Lab about Big IP and declarative onboarding. And just really quickly, what we want to do is go over what exactly we'll be learning over the next 2 hours. So we'll start off with what is the F5 Automation Toolchain. Next, we'll dive into why exactly do we need declarative onboarding and break down really how it works in detail. Next, we're going to go ahead and give you guys some resources that you can use later on after this lab to get a better understanding and practice utilizing this technology. And of course, we'll have an open Q&A at the end, but as Maurice said earlier, feel free to drop those questions anytime in the comments below, and a lab assistant will respond to you as soon as possible. And then after all of that, we'll actually go ahead and dive into a quick lab, and you guys are going to get some hands-on experience. So before we dive into the content, I'd like to start off with something pretty cool that you'll get out of today, and that is, can anyone try and guess what 7 minutes is? Eliezer, do you have a guess what 7 minutes stands for?
I don't know.
Well, let me go ahead and tell you. For me, who is a seasoned solutions engineer here at F5, 7 minutes is how long it takes me to manually configure one big IP. And I know this, I know it pretty well, right? What if I told you at the end of today, you were going to be able to do that same exact task in 7 seconds? Is that something that excites you?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, if so, then you are in the right place, because that's where we're going to get you to. So how do we do that? How do we get you to that 7-second mark? We do that using the Automation Toolchain. What exactly is the Automation Toolchain? Let's start off with a real world example of what that could look like in the real world. We're all familiar with making a sandwich, right? So we go into our kitchen, we lay out the raw ingredients, and we put everything that we like about that sandwich out and on that sandwich. But what if you had to make that sandwich for 10 people or 20 people or even 100 people? How much time would that take you? How much effort would it take you? Wouldn't it be better if you could just say, hey, I want this sandwich made this way, and voila, that sandwich is presented to you that way? Well, that's exactly what this Automation Toolchain is going to do. Rather than manually configuring your big IP, you're going to be able to say, hey, I want my big IP prepared for me this way. Go ahead and do that. So what does that look like on the big IP? We all know, for those of you who are pretty familiar with administering a big IP, there is a lot of domain-specific knowledge that goes into that. So you'll start off with configuring your nodes, and you might have to attach a monitor to that and wrap those in a pool and attach your profiles and your certs and your keys and your various profiles. And finally, once you've done all of that, you have your virtual server up and running. And that's great. But the problem there is there's a lot of potential for a mistake to be made if you do something out of order. Like I said, I really can't emphasize this enough. The goal here today is to make this easy to deploy for you, where you simply just say, I want this virtual server, and you don't have to worry about anything else. That's where we're going to get you to. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it off to the next presenter, Garland, who's actually going to be able to explain how we can do everything that I just told you about using the Automation Toolchain.
Awesome. Thanks, Majid. Let me get my screen shared here. All right, are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
I guess that means we're good to go. So let's kind of put this into F5 terms. Majid talked about making that sandwich and the components of it. So let's talk about the Automation Toolchain and what exactly that is from an F5 perspective. So the Automation Toolchain is a set of free tools that is, sorry, I lost my, there we go. It's a set of free tools that help you deploy and configure the big IP. You can use these automation or the Automation Toolchain to integrate with F5 solutions and other orchestration and automation systems in your environment. And I did say free. I know we don't use the F word a lot at F5, but these tools are free to use. So when we talk about the tool chain as a whole, there's really 5 components that we consider part of our automation tool chain. Starting off with bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is what you would use to initially configure your big IP into public or private clouds. Next, we move into what this class is focused on, which is declarative onboarding. And this is going to be the component that you would use to get your big IP device ready to accept traffic. Next, application services 3, or what we call AS3. And this is the extension that you would use to deploy those layer 4 through layer 7 applications. So when you're delivering an application, if you're familiar with Big IP, creating virtual servers, this is the component that you would use to do that. And then once you get those services deployed, so we've bootstrapped our device, we've used DO to get our device ready for traffic, and now we've used AS3 to actually provision our applications. We now use telemetry streaming, and what that is going to do is help us monitor and collect analytics from the Big IP. And then in addition to that telemetry streaming, you can use that to track the health of your applications, the security and the performance of the applications. So this is kind of how we align the tool chain with NetOps. So as I mentioned earlier, you bootstrap the device. We're going to onboard the device. We're going to configure the layer 4 through 7 services. We monitor that device, and then we also use telemetry streaming to monitor any changes that may happen or need to happen with that device. So as we move into DO specifically, what is DO exactly? So DO, or Declarative Onboarding, is a API extension on the Big IP. Like I said earlier, it provides layer 1 through 3 services for the Big IP. This can be done, we'll talk a little more about this, but you use a single REST API endpoint to configure all of your onboarding configurations. And the way we do that is we send a JSON-based document to these API, or to the API endpoint. The benefit of this is you don't need to be an expert on the Big IP. You don't have to know what order I need to create VLANs and self IPs. You just send that declaration and the Big IP figures that out for you. So what that does is it minimizes errors and it makes sure that you're consistent across multiple devices. So as we look at the continuous integration cycle, there was one piece of this that was missing, and that was the operations piece. So when you look at this, you kind of have your developers as they go through their cycle, and then they have to stop and wait for the NetOps guys to kind of do what they needed to do imperatively, if you will, and it kind of slows down this process. And that's kind of how shadow IT gets started. If you're slowing down the development process, then the developers, they tend to go around you. So the automation toolchain kind of addresses this point here. And as we look at the market, obviously with digital transformation, things are changing. You have to be able to execute at the speed of software. Demands are constantly changing, and people expect rapid responses from those changes, right? So we need to be able to be flexible, but also be successful when we move into this more digital transformation model. So when it comes to DO specifically, there's two methods that you can use today to leverage declarative onboarding. The first method is you can install an RPM package directly on the Big IP. The second method is you can actually use a container that's provided by F5. And the declarations are pretty much the same, except when you use a container, you do have to add a separate DO class so that the container knows which device it needs to send that declaration to. And actually there is a third way, and we actually will demo this in the lab, but you can actually use BigIQ to onboard devices as well. So at a high level, basically declarative onboarding is an iControl LX extension. And what that is a worker on the Big IP will take your declaration and it's going to compare it to the current state of the Big IP against the declaration that you sent it, and then it will configure the Big IP to the final state or the state of the declaration that you sent. In addition to that, we do have very verbose logging where you can see every step that DO is taking to get your device to that final end state. This here is just an example of a declaration. So as you can see, this is very human readable. We're not dealing with XML. It's just a JSON document. We do have a way to validate the schema. So you will see part of this in the lab where you can actually make sure your declaration is correct, and you can also see what values are and are not allowed in the declaration. And then just in closing here, these are a few resources that you can leverage as you get more familiar with declarative onboarding. We have our complete documentation. We have the schema reference as well. Any issues are currently supported in GitHub, and then also the link to our container image. And with that, I will hand it over to Jermaine to kick off the lab.
Awesome, thanks, Garland. We're now about to begin the lab portion. We have 3 amazing labs for you today. Our first lab is building a standalone big IP with declarative onboarding. Our second lab is clustering 2 big IPs with declarative onboarding. And our third lab is using BigIQ to deploy a big IP via declarative onboarding. All right. And we will begin by opening up our lab. We've already discussed how to get into the lab, so we'll start here. Here at the lab page. We have our different components that we're going to log into. Today we'll work mostly with the Windows appliance here, and we'll interact with the other devices via the Windows jump server. So I've already have that open, and I will begin there. If you have any problems getting into the Windows jump server, please ask a lab assistant to help you out inside the chat room.
Hey, just a director's cut injection here. Let's just practice the breakout rooms for a second with Orlando and Chris and Vlad, if you guys don't mind for a second here. Well, that's gonna hopefully be something that just goes on in the background. So I'll go back on mute, and I'll work with the other assistants to go in and out of breakout rooms with the our viewer.
Okay. Really quickly, what would be awesome is to be able to access the documentation from here so that we can just keep this screen up. I can go to the GitHub page and just pull this up here. But this is probably where we want everybody just to work from this screen so we don't have to transition so much.
Yeah, so we've talked about that a few times. We can put a link there. I think part of the concern was that we can't just show the DL class. When you link it there, it's going to show all the classes. I don't know that it matters, but I think that's why we initially didn't do that, but we can change that if necessary.
Yeah, let's just do it there. I feel like it'll be easier to keep everybody on the same page. And I won't have to switch as many screens. How about that? It's just I don't want to switch as many screens.
That works too.
I won't get lost. So we're waiting right now, or should we be going forward?
I think we're still testing the breakout rooms.
Okay. I gotta mute the sound on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is going to get. Notifications. So the magic button to turn that off.
So you have to go to the chat, go back to the chat icon, and then mouse over that particular chat, hit the more options, the three dots.
Mute. All right. Actually, you know what, we were, if we just grab the documentation here, we'll copy and paste Actually, you can't see it, but if you copy and paste the documentation in, we can just save that link. I'll add it to that. I can do that, I think.
And I think that link, doesn't that link change when the
You're
lab
correct.
is...
Yes, it will change. We can just talk through that part. That's okay.
When you publish it, the UDF doc, does it show that link in the documentation tab? When you go to your deployment?
I'm sorry, you're referring to which part?
You know, like you have this documentation here, right? When
Yes.
you go into the when you create the UDF environment, right? There's like a little tab that says deploy documentation. You can edit. Can you put that link in there? Will that show up in the UDF lab when you start it?
I think it shows up here.
Oh, there. That's what I was looking at. Does it show
Oh.
up there? Yeah. Yeah. See, it's not in there. Huh.
But you can grab the lab documentation from here.
Oh, from lab guide there. Okay. All right.
And what we'll do is we'll copy this. We'll paste this into the window in our RDP session, and we'll follow along the lab here.
Okay.
What if we were to link the read the docs in the description?
We could do either one, but I think the question was, or the issue was that shows all the other documentation, not just this specific. So whichever way is easy. This doesn't seem too hard here. Okay, now I want to see what's going on in the breakout room. So this is all going to be covered, getting into the lab. That's in the very beginning, right? And we'll start with this one.
Are we still testing breakout rooms?
So,
Okay. Majid, you're muted if you're talking to us.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I see Maurice either as
I was on mute. Sorry.
Maurice is in a breakout room or not in the meeting, but there's no host.
So when a customer is in a breakout room, then they can add. Then they can ask additional help, which is a little bit confusing. So what you guys see is my view, and you should see all my Zoom sessions here, right? So I'm a customer. I have a question. I can even be invited to a breakout room.
should just happen there.
Right? I can even be invited to, or I can join the breakout room. Let's say I will join Robin's breakout room. Now, when I do this and I'm in the breakout room, there is another button that says "Ask for help," where I can invite another host to a breakout room. So let me do this. But then, if you want to see this, you have to come to Robin's.
I think Vlad's in a breakout room, but I think what he's trying to say is there's a button there that calls the host's attention, which is fine. the host doesn't actually need to go in there. He just needs to assign one of us to those rooms.
Yeah,
But,
I saw that the first time and I fumbled the ball on it. So I get you.
So Maurice, you can also send a room to, or send a message to each of the rooms telling everybody, hey, get back in here. Garland's got something important to talk about here.
Yep. Vlad's not back, is he?
You can
No,
also,
I think he was just trying to explain that there's a button there that he can call your attention.
Yep.
Some people may or may not use that, but
Say what?
this is the behind the scenes stuff is something that we don't want to interfere with the train of thought of Jermaine Garland and Majid, are you also doing presenting, or are you kind of?
Majid is presenting as well.
Okay. And I know you went in the beginning, but are you going to present also throughout the presentation as well, or are you kind of like the? Okay, so you're kind of like the main person to contact if, for example, I go into a breakout room with somebody and I want to get the attention of Garland or Jermaine. I talk to you then, right?
that would be ideal. Yes.
Yeah. So for Kevin and Chris, you're not an assistant, you're just here as a viewer, but Kevin and Alizier, our jobs is to man those breakout rooms and then filter out conversations, bring it to Majid's attention, and he kind of waits for the right time to call on that person to talk or just talk about what that person was interested in.
Okay. You want to kind of run through that motion?
Yeah, so let's say there's, maybe Garland and Jermaine are telling an entertaining story, and they're getting through a 3 or 4 minute talk track. Meanwhile, we might be having chat messages going on with a user, and then maybe Maurice sends us into a breakout room so that we can actually talk to the person and look at their screen and stuff like that. And we may discover that they've got something interesting that the whole room wants to, to hear about. So we might invite somebody back out of a breakout room and say, hey, Majid, I was talking to Tom from Scotiabank, and he's got this really interesting thing. Why don't you wait for the right time to call on him, and he wants to talk during the meeting or something like that. That just kind of gives us an opportunity to pull customers into the conversation and make it interactive while filtering out people that, I mean, kind of like that example we talked about where when you call into a radio show, you don't actually talk to the guy on the air at first. You talk to an intake, somebody on the intake process, and they're like, what do you want to talk about? What do you, what's going on? Okay, yeah, I'll put you on air kind of thing. And so Majid is kind of that person, that buffer.
Should the part of that process be asking the customer if they want to share it with the class, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some people that would be like, no, I don't want to speak in front of 30 people, but there's going to be lots of people that would love to have, 2 or 3 minutes to speak up in front of everybody.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, as far as like going into like the breakout room and then getting Majid, I was just saying like just through Zoom, just getting that.
Through Teams. So we'll use that back channel. So I'd be like, and I think you're on the Teams chat, right? So I'd be like, Majid, I have a user with an interesting comment. His name is Bob Smith. So now that's
Robin,
on
in this scenario, does sorry if I'm misunderstanding, does Maurice have to invite me to that particular breakout room every time?
No. So you probably won't be somebody that disappears into breakout rooms, but you'll be somebody that Kevin, myself, and I come back to on a side channel. So I just messaged you in Teams and I said, I'm talking to a user in a breakout room and they've got an interesting problem. I might be talking to them in a breakout room and I'll say, hey, let's go back to the main room And if you're comfortable with talking in front of everybody, then Jermaine's going to call on you, right? So I'll kind of give you a heads up, and Jermaine and Garland will know that they don't need to be distracted with all of the chat noise and breakout room noise and stuff like that. They only ever really need to talk to you, or you can kind of just interject, and they'll know that there's only one other person kind of
Yeah,
speaking.
I will say this was my first time presenting in a full agility experience, and that the chat, multiple chats going on from Teams and Zoom, it's a little overwhelming. You know, you gotta phase it out.
Hey guys.
Yeah, so the important thing is to keep that away from Jermaine and Garland, right? That noise. So we need to keep, but we also need to make it interactive. So the complexities of managing all that noise is just something we got to deal with.
Do you think we should maybe let the presentations go before opening the breakout rooms? Because then people are going to be jumping out and missing part of the content.
Well, so breakout rooms aren't supposed to be open until the actual lab starts.
Okay.
And even then, it's on a invite only basis per customer. Only when they have an issue, they're not going to be by default in a breakout room.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Is like if a customer has a problem that they want to talk about with somebody without being an interruption to the whole room. It's like a pit stop kind of thing, but you go into the breakout room, have your conversation, figure it out, go back into the main room.
Ideally, though, you'd want to solve their issue in the chat if it's something simple, because that whole process could set them behind. So first approach, chat.
Okay, so I want to say that up front in the beginning of the...
Yeah, Maurice will do all that onboarding.
Oh, okay.
But don't like, for the lab assistants, don't immediately say, okay, let's go into a breakout room. See if it's something you can just respond to them with an answer really quickly.
Yeah, like a lot of the stuff is going to be, what page are we supposed to be on? What's the IP address? What's the password? Where are we supposed to get up to? You know, basic stuff like that we can just manage through chat. It's only going to be, you know, when Tom from Scotiabank has a really complex, you know, he wants to show us a stanza that he's got that's not working, or a declaration, and you know, like, there's going to be some people that want to get into the weeds, and we may not be able to, so we won't be able to answer weed questions in the chat. We might have to go into a breakout room, but then we might have to escalate that as a conversation back to Jermaine or Garland through Majid.
Okay.
So Orlando, you're and Chris, you guys are sort of simulating the customer experience. A lot of this noise would just be kind of you know, behind the scenes to you. As viewers of the show, we want to focus your attention on Jermaine and Garland, you know, to keep you interested. I'm not sure if you have any feedback for, you know, from a viewer perspective.
Yeah, I'm just like trying to follow the lab right now, and I didn't notice.
Okay.
That they,
that's what we want you to do.
Yeah, I just like, it's funny because the postman, I would recommend, if you guys can in the lab, like put shortcuts for the postman right on the taskbar. People are used to that, you know, things like that. I see in the desktop. Yeah, it's just trying to. Yeah, it's running a little slow for me for some reason. Yeah.
And you guys are gonna have like the lab up on the screen, and you know, I'm imagining there might be 30 people, and 2 or 3 people might just want to talk during the meeting, and you might just quickly show somebody something, or.
Yeah.
So where are you at in the lab?
So right now I am in here. Just I gotta catch up. I am in the Visual Studio, right?
Here.
And then, yeah, I copy and paste that in there, and then I'm going now to launch Postman. So,
that takes a few seconds.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah. Expand on, but I don't see it mentioning Postman before that. Where did it say? Like the first step. Okay, there was Postman. Finally came up. So the first thing I did was copy that, right? That JSON code, declarative code.
Yep.
And then I'm trying to find out, maybe I'm like doing the lab guide within the lab itself. Allowing you to view that. I don't see where it mentions the launch Postman.
Yeah, I agree, Orlando. I don't see it in there
Yeah.
either. It just,
Yeah.
it goes right from Visual Studio Editor to
Yeah.
I mean, I knew to launch Postman because I've used it a lot and I've done
Yeah.
this lab a couple of times. But
Okay. Explicitly.
Maybe something's missing in that section. Maybe I got when your building section got removed or something. Yeah, because you paste it into this Visual Studio, but I don't know what else we're doing with that. So, right? Is that what you see, Chris?
yeah, it's just, to your point, it really just, in my opinion, just needs to have a little, hey, one, probably tell the users, assume the worst case scenario, where to find Postman on the system, since it's not on the toolbar or on the, I don't know if it's on the desktop or not.
Yeah, I just found it on the desktop. Yeah, it is on the desktop. Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least just say, launch Postman. Because and that, I've seen in other lab guides, because it does take, 30 seconds or whatever, tell them, this takes 30 seconds, be patient or whatever. Yeah, I think we take for granted because we, a lot of us have done a lot of these labs, and we know where Postman is, but I've definitely seen in other some of the other agility labs that I'm doing, where we just put a little blurb in there, say launch it, and a little disclaimer that says, hey, it's going to take 30 seconds for it to fully render.
From your guys' perspective, you think we should put something under the deployment description, under documentation?
Yeah, I would.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. One more time.
Well, no, I was asking Orlando if we should put something in the deployment description under the documentation.
Yeah, like the link to the lab guide there if you want.
Well,
yeah. Oh, it's stuff generated from the lab server, right? That's the reason why you can't add it in there.
Yes. So should we just say refer to
the
LAMP server under access?
Yeah, maybe just show some screenshots of that. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. I mean, again, I kind of knew where it was, but if I pretend like I'm the the student that's never touched any of this stuff before and is not familiar with UDF, a lot of them are going to be like, well, where's the documentation? And
yeah.
So how do you modify the deployment description? Because when I create a course, I don't see any.
It's like just like a little pencil. If you go show me your UDF, there's like a little pencil there. If you want to share your screen, I can show you. Yeah, so see that pencil there? And the description right there.
I mean,
right
that's already there, though.
Yeah, but see that little pencil there, right there, next to it?
You're talking about this here?
Yeah, there. Yeah.
So, okay, I have this here already, but if I understand what you guys are saying, you're saying put something here under deployment description.
Oh, I thought
so
it was
what I put here goes to course overview.
Oh.
There is no way, at least I haven't found a way to actually put anything here.
That's interesting. Let me see how it just did. So I just built one right recently. Let's see how it looks on mine. UDF deployments. Just a class I have going on. Oh, why is the mouse acting weird?
While we're looking here, should we share screens here and have that opportunity to do annotations? Anybody up for that?
All right, what was the last part?
So I've just been doing, I haven't been sharing my desktop, but if I share my desktop, it gives us the ability to annotate. We kind of talked about that before.
For sure. That's a fun thing to see, I think.
I think one more thing we need to practice is the transitions between sharing screens. I just noticed it really wasn't that smooth when we did it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys could probably just assume that people can see your screens if you click share.
do you guys want to do like a shared drive or whatever, and then you could just have the person, you could just tell the person next or whatever?
Same presentation and just kind of keep going through.
Yeah. And then you can just say like next, whoever's handling control of it or whatever.
Personally, I think it's better if you just share, because you don't have to ask permission. If you just, as a co-host, if you just start sharing, it just tears the other person's share down. So you should just know when you're ready to do your transition. You just have it queued up, hit share, and it'll automatically show up, and you can control your own next and stuff like that. But I definitely think the annotations with the arrows and stuff like that is a fun thing to do when you're going through the lab.
Garland, if you try and take control from me right now, I want to see. Does it allow you to just steal control?
To share my screen?
Yes. Okay, perfect. So I shouldn't stop sharing. You should just start sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's seamless.
That solves that problem.
Now the transition.
So this is a point that I think is kind of fun, where if the presenters know, like, so Jermaine, if you want to point something out, if Garland kind of knows what you're talking about, if you could go ahead and share your screen out again.
Sure.
Yeah, and so if you click on the annotate buttons, and Jermaine, if you're just like, think of something random to talk about.
So here we are at the Postman screen, and we're going to load up our new collections.
And I'm just putting arrows and stuff like that. I don't know but if it matches what you're talking about, but I'm assuming Garland would know what you're talking about. If you guys can kind of like trade off by drawing attention to what the other guy's talking about, I think that'll work out nicely.
All right.
I just have to remember to clear. Okay, your screenshots do have arrows in them as well. That's kind of nice. So does everybody know how to do that? Like if you click on view options and then annotate?
Yep, we went through that the last round, right?
Okay.
So this may make it easier to deal with moving around, actually just sharing the desktop for me. Let's see, I'm assuming the folks that are going through the lab are probably somewhere on lab 2, is that right?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to post the JSON code. Not working for me. Christopher, were you able to push the code?
Are you having an error?
Yeah.
I got mine. I got it to push. It just takes a while,
Okay, I got like an error on mine. Let me see. Let me try to send it again. Token error. JSON at position 13.
So you're saying the whole process didn't take you 7 seconds?
Oh, actually, I have something for that, right? So we're going to kind of talk about the fact that, hey, you were able to push the code in 7 seconds, walk away, and move on to something else, right? While the other person is still configuring. So it's all good. We'll cover that. So let's see what error you're having.
Okay, you want me to share my screen?
Sure,
Okay.
we'll help see if we can figure out what's happening. Oh, this is going to put us on the spot, but let's go for it.
Okay, so let me see if I can share. I think you gotta probably stop sharing, and then I can share. Let's see.
I need to stop. All right.
All right, there you go. Share screen.
Yeah, so if a customer wants to share a screen, they can't stop a host from sharing. Only hosts can stop other hosts from sharing.
Yeah. So I was on this step, right? So I did this first, right? The post, and then so I was getting the get first, and then I did the post, and I pasted JSON under this body here, right? And let me move this.
So real quick, if you look at the X up there,
You're
line
missing a
one's-
bracket.
Yes.
Oh, so where is it? Oh, right here.
Yes, there should be a bracket for the first one. If you go back and look at your original post, I'll start sharing again.
Okay. Ah, okay. All right.
So this bracket here is missing because your one starts here at schema.
Schema. Okay. So I gotta put a bracket. Let me see. Maybe when I was copy pasting it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, this bracket here is what you're talking about, right?
Yep, the one's highlighted there.
Okay. All right, let me go back there.
And for lab assistants, that's probably very likely going to be an error that occurs for a handful
Okay.
of things.
There it goes. All right. Look like it's getting it. And send. Okay, then it wants me to go and log in and look at it.
Yes. So we're looking for the status of running.
Yeah. Oh, no license, huh? Is that pushing the license too?
Yes.
Let me log out, log back in.
So we'll scroll back up to the top.
All right.
So here's all the features that are components that we're adding via declarative onboarding: license, credentials, we're provisioning modules, DNS, NTP, self IPs, and VLANs.
Okay. Yes, I see all that. And let me push that one more time just to make sure.
So just a little fun fact: we were giving Majid a hard time about the 7 seconds
Yeah.
statement, but in reality, he's actually right because
He's right. Yeah.
He pushed his declaration in 7 seconds. He went on to have a cup of coffee and he talked to a friend, and then he come back and his big IP is ready to go. Or he went on to do.
Oh, mine says yeah. Probably, you said it's going to take a while for it to come up, so it's still probably loading the config, right?
Yes. So if you hit that get status of multiple times, you'll keep getting running. And Garland mentioned before that if you wanted to actually watch the logs, we could view that the rest log and watch what's happening.
Yeah, look, it started to come up. That's awesome. Oh, that's pretty cool. Network, self IPs. Oh, he's online. All right. VLANs, not yet.
So I'm going to grab the declaration so your big IP is online, ready to go.
Yeah, look like it's restarting. Yeah, look like it's coming up. Yep.
One of the fun facts we'll mention here is, as soon as I grab this, I'll paste this in. Postman and curl kind of work hand in hand, and I deal with a lot of customers that have a limited tool set. They may only have a Linux command line. So curl is generally found on a Linux command prompt. So we open this up, go into our post here, paste our declaration inside. Then we'll hit code here. And now we see the code that we can use if we wanted to paste into a Linux command line via curl and push our declaration to our big IP. So that's useful if you're going somewhere with limited tools. All right, on to lab 2. Lab 2 is just building a standby. It's building our clustered big IP. So we're clustering big IPs 1 and 2 together.
Okay. Until this one gets up and running.
Moving back to the bottom on the next page. We're going to use a similar motion. We're going to just copy our declaration, and we want to make sure we capture that first one. And we're going to return back to Postman. We're going to make sure we open up Big IP 2 here, and then we're going to use the post, pasting our command into the body, ensuring that we're at JSON here, and we're doing a post. This is the big IP. If you highlight here, you'll see the IP address of the device we're going to. Give time for the annotations to catch up. And we'll hit send. Oh, there you go. We'll fire away. And here we are, we're getting our values here, our return. Status is running, message is processing. We'll move back over to our APIs, and we'll also do the get declarative onboarding version. Actually, sorry, onboarding status here. That's the one we should be hitting. Is there a sort of delay in that annotation? Oh, there you go. Send the money on.
Okay. Cool.
Process is still running. So and that'll take a few minutes to load up. And the speed of this particular action is actually derived by how big our declaration is, and also how many modules are we provisioning? Are we provisioning new modules or not? So, but this is a moment that we can ask questions. I think we have a poll here too. Maybe we can kick this off. Should be happening somewhere about this time. And as you finish, maybe we can have everyone raise their hand in the chat to let us know that you're done. And we get most of the hands raised, and we'll move on to lab 3. Oh, looks like Chris is finished. Since we were kind of doing this a little bit disjointed, I did not do lab 1, but you should see that your big IP will be clustered and configured. And ideally, during the lab, I would do that. Waiting for this big IP to finish loading up. Copy the password. Oh my goodness. Copy and paste, then moving the mouse. Finger dexterity. So we need something for this dead time, or are we just okay with silence here?
You guys are gonna be you're gonna entertain us.
You could put up a lab in progress PowerPoint slide.
I need some stories to tell.
Tell some dad jokes.
That's easy.
Hey, if you got stories to tell, jump in. I think we should throw those in there.
Yeah, sure.
So notice that your status is now online and either standby or active. We'll take a look at our configurations. Our self IPs configured. Our VLAN names there. Nice. We'll scroll down.
I don't think that it's done yet because it's still showing standalone, so it may still be processing that.
No, we never did the first one. That's why.
Oh, okay.
See, on mine, I just went and did number 2 also, but 1 and 2 don't have VLANs or self IPs or anything configured.
Interesting.
And they're in standalone mode now, active standalone.
Now, if we ever hit that problem in the lab, do we just have this person tear his lab down and start again? Because I'm curious as to why yours doesn't, though.
Yeah.
Let's take a look and see what you have.
Okay, here, I'll share my screen. Okay. Minimize these windows. Okay, so you see here, I have the 2 came up. I logged into them. And if you go to VLANs, no self IPs or anything.
So your first
Oh, this one has it. All right.
Big IP01, something didn't happen there because the host name is not correct. So
Yeah. So you want me to go back to the step and resubmit it, the JSON again, right?
Wait a second. Wait a second, Orlando. When a big IP comes up fresh,
Yes.
you do not see the screen that you see here. You see the startup wizard that wants to lead you through the setup guide.
Yeah, I didn't see that. No, I didn't see that at all. Yeah.
If you spin up a new big IP, you don't see that?
No, I would see that on a normal big IP, but on this one, I didn't see it. When I first logged in, after we did that JSON configuration, it rebooted the big IP because I guess it was making its changes, and then it came back online, and I logged in.
I'll switch back. So you should see, and that's one of the first steps we wanted to do is to actually take a look at the first big IP and see what status it's in. I'll share real quick. So you should have been at a screen.
Yeah, the first time I logged in, I did see. Yeah, you're correct. I did see that. It was blank. Yeah.
But actually, I have a feeling I think I know what's wrong here. Maybe.
You're correct. When I first saw it, it was like that. Yeah.
And then the next thing, in order to log into a device, you already have to provide a username and password. So this works if you have the default admin username and password thing are on VMs in data centers. If you are in the cloud, then you have to set it on the CLI.
That's correct. Yeah.
you actually have to do that regardless on 14 or
Yes.
The TMOS commands. You have to do the management.
Yeah, and then if you on the newer versions, you have to change the password after the first login.
That's true.
And then upload DO and all this stuff. So how do we handle that?
So that's
all of that is not included in this lab. I had some of that in there.
So
I got told to take a lot of that out and do it beforehand. So changing the password, uploading DO is already done, but it's not included in the lab.
Those are relatively simple administrative stuff that just make a presentation look ugly, but they're not actually difficult tasks. So it makes sense to not show it.
We could do the password change. That could just be a simple API push, right? That's not super complicated if you want that there, but it is pretty trivial.
Hold on. If you really say this, because I know that the password change of the API is trivial. Don't disagree on this. The question is, what do you want to? I mean, you said here the parameters, right? If you say, okay, we did this, and then that's it. If somebody says, I love DO and I would like to use this for my automation to spin up a big IP, then all the stuff that we say is trivial. Yeah, it is trivial if you work on the GUI. If you want to do this in an automated fashion, it's a little bit different.
But I think part of the expectation from this is that they will go and look at the documentation.
It's not documented.
It's not documented? Interesting.
Have you tried it?
So the what it comes down to is the 2-hour window. So I was specifically instructed has to be done in 2 hours. So when I had all of that stuff in there, I got told to take it out. So I'm not going to put it in there. In the documentation, it does say that you have to change the password. Now, how you go about doing that? So if we want to put that in some supplement documentation or something, then we can do that. but I'm not going to add it to the actual presentation and make it part of the lab because the concern is that we're not going to get done in 2 hours.
We can
just
add
so you
it
know,
to-
guys. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh.
I pushed the JSON again for number 1 and it worked, and now it's in the cluster. Now it's working.
Okay.
That's good.
I was gonna say the documentation that we send out in the chat in the beginning as well as in the end, we can just add a link in there about changing the password. And like you said, Garland, that handles our end of liability of what we're telling the customer.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's you guys set your parameters, right? You said that's your car plane. And...
So we can reference that in the appendix, right? I think that's what we're saying.
Or even if we want, I guess we can talk about that offline, but we could, I do have a slide in there where I talk about the methods to use DO. So maybe I can throw a slide in there that says you need to do these things first or something. We'll figure out somewhere how to mention it.
I was planning to mention it at the beginning of Lab 1 about the password change, but and we
Okay.
can show that, have that documentation there.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to mention that as we're kind of talking about, because I feel like that should be a part of like the automation piece, right? Like changing that. You don't want to like necessarily change that via command line or anything, just the API call to patch the password code.
I mean, the other thing is if you're deploying a VE, there's been a lot of talk about having DHCP for that management interface to be able to even get to it. So you've got options. If you don't have console access, then depending on if you're in public cloud, you can use Cloud Init to change that. A lot of my customers who aren't in public cloud, the only other option if they don't have console access or DHCP is to inject those properties into the OVA so that it comes up with that IP address. So, I mean, there's a number of caveats that go along with that, so.
Maybe this is the small talk that we have in between waiting for declarations, right? Just kind of talk about these small things and just share this information and put that out there. Because we do have about 2-3 minutes of time waiting for a declaration to finish.
I think that's a great idea.
Maybe one of us like present the question, just kind of talk about it, like, hey, what are you going to do when such a situation, and then someone just answers it, right? So we kind of play off each other for a little bit there.
Yeah.
And it won't be so scripted.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think the pacing of the lab is really good. This is definitely one you can finish in the 2 hours. Some of the other ones I'm involved in, it could be a struggle, but this one's, I think it's paced really well that most people should be able to get to the end in that allotted amount of time.
Yeah.
The documentation's really good. It's straightforward. Other than the little thing we mentioned about Postman, it makes sense, easy to follow.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was able to finish mine. It's good. This is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, maybe, again, in between the time, chat about, how we did declarative, maybe mention something about AS3. Maybe you tell them to go to, you could probably bring up, hey, if you want to learn more about AS3, go to GitHub/F5 Networks. You have that AS3 link with the videos in there and all that. They could do that. So you could probably talk about that. Right?
Okay.
No, but this is good. Pretty straightforward lab.
Cool, thank you. So you finished lab 2?
Yeah. Yep. I got all the way to the Big IQ 3, the Big IQ. Finished that.
Oh, you finished Big IQ 3 or lab 3? Sorry.
Yeah, lab 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've all made it through the labs. Now this is the end part. We're going to turn it back over to the host to conclude, or I wrap it up. I think I'm confused on this part. So
So,
I think it goes back to Maurice, but
yeah, the main thing I want you to do is look at that camera and smile right now.
you got 30 seconds to get your picture.
Done.
All right.
Thank you all for your time and attention on this too. I appreciate that.
Okay. I think the last thing we do when we're wrapping this up is just remind them of the appendix at the very end of the lab, which I probably should actually say, hey, here's the last, you know, if you have any other questions, see the appendix, and then I'll turn it over to you, Maurice.
Sounds good.
Sorry, the kids in the background.
Yeah, I don't know where my kids are. They're terrorizing the neighborhood.
Yeah.
All right.
I got to go jump in another call. So, but thank you so much, guys.
Appreciate you guys jumping us out. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, thank you guys for joining.
No problem.
All right, so I guess those guys are dropping off. I can update the appendix with the stuff about changing the password. That's not hard. I can actually show. I can add the postman declaration to our documentation just in case someone wants to see what it looks like. So just add it to the collection that we already have there.
Oh, boy. Okay. All right. Hold up.
Okay, I think I figured out where to edit the documentation.
What you got?
Let me share my screen. So he's got to go under here, and that should edit this part, I'd imagine. Let me just see that in real time. Oh, yep, perfect.
We don't see your screen yet.
You see it now?
Am I the only person that's seeing? Oh, there it is.
I see it. So what tab is that? You're in deployments?
Yep.
Okay. Summary. Got it.
Huh. Okay.
And then, I mean, I guess since I'm here, I can just do it right now. So, should we just say, like, go under the LAMP server and then click access and then lab guide?
But you were putting the link in that documentation tab.
Oh, the link. Well, I think it's a dynamic link.
Yeah, so it's gonna change.
Yeah.
Not only that, I'm sure. Are they all the same? I don't think so.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be different for everyone.
Yep. Because mine is different, so.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. Don't you guys have isn't it on Cloud Docs? You have the link to this?
Oh, you mean like read the docs link?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay.
So it is on Cloud Docs.
It is? Oh, okay.
The concern is, and I don't know if it's a big deal or not, so here's the link on Cloud Docs.
It's all the other stuff. That's the concern.
So you can do that, but then you have all the other classes and stuff. There's no way to get around that.
And then this is
Say where it is, describe where it is there, and then when we're in the lab, we'll just talk through copy and pasting this into the RDP session.
So
keep everybody on the same screen.
I don't think this is bad, right? I don't think anyone would get confused. As long as you tell them, you know, at the end, you know.
I mean, Jermaine just sent me this, you know, the links, and I ran through this without any problems. So, I mean,
Okay.
I don't think we're going to see a lot of problems.
So I'm just gonna throw it in there.
And if they get lost, that's what helps for lab assistance. Hopefully. We don't have
All right,
anyone
never
have
mind.
lost.
Take it out. Don't like it. This messing with you.
All right.
Carlin, how come your shirt's so much shinier than Jermaine's?
You know, I thought it was the lighting, but then Majid's looks like mine, but Jermaine and Robin's look different. So maybe the shirts aren't exactly the same.
Yeah, there was 2 batches of shirts. The initial batch, and I'm guessing Garland, you just received your shirt this week.
I actually got mine fairly quick, like that same week that they asked for my address.
Yeah,
They are actually great, right? The shirts.
It's gray, but it's like shiny gray.
the silky like gray.
It's the light. I got these. The key lights actually do change picture a lot. I don't know how to adjust my camera like Robin does or have a camera, but the lights do make a big difference.
But I don't see yours shining like that. Like
I don't
like
have much
me
light
and
in my room.
Majid's.
Yeah, yours looks like a sports jersey, right? Like a soccer.
And there's also a green screen behind me too. I think that does.
That probably helps.
Yeah. Hey, it's funny thing here is I think I was probably like one of the last people to probably order their stuff, and I ended up getting a green screen and key lights, nothing else. Oh, some camera mount that's.
Well, I still don't have my green screen. I'm just gonna.
I would be for a green screen right now.
Yeah, Garland, are you gonna go and just buy one if you don't get it in time?
I'm debating on doing that or buying a green sheet and just hanging it up behind me or something.
Yep, that'll work.
I don't have a wall behind me, as you can see, so I'm gonna have to get creative.
Because this whole half my arm missing is.
Yeah. And this shirt, for whatever reason, Zoom doesn't like these stripes.
Does not.
I saw somebody mention that in chat, but when you turn on the virtual background, like sometimes half my shoulder disappears.
It wasn't an
depending
issue
on
before, which is weird.
where I'm sitting. But so usually you see how my shoulder just disappeared right there?
Yeah.
There it is. See, it's lining it up with the white stripe right now.
Yeah.
Does not like it.
Yeah, but lighting, I didn't realize it is a big deal. And I guess cameras help having a really nice camera, but I don't know if I'm going out like those guys did with cameras.
This blue shirt, all right?
Is this a recording of us?
Oh, it's still recording.
We
Good
can
part.
do that.
The outtakes.
I don't think I can stop the live stream, but I did stop the recording.
I think Maurice has to stop that.